The November 25th, 2019 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ansello is excused. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Boyce? Chairwoman DeFlorio?
Here.
Ms. Cayley is excused. President Carbone?
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There's not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is a presentation by Robert Franklin, Chief Financial Officer, who is here to present the 2020 proposed Monroe County budget as it pertains to planning and economic development. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And I'm going to step down.
60 seconds.
Just going to step down to get out of the camera. Thank you.
I took out all the propaganda, so this is probably going to be the shortest presentation in county history. Give me 60 seconds, all right? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending the Planning and Development Committee meeting. As the budget pertains to this committee for the years 2020, regarding our Planning and Development Department, basically just a slight decline in overall budgeted appropriations, going from 2.46 million amended to 2.44 million proposed. Most of that decline is within the Division of Planning Services, which, because really of a retirement for the most part, the division is budgeting lower salaries. The more notable change is in department revenues. In a somewhat bizarre twist during a federal audit, Rochester Works and New York State have taken the opinion that Monroe County is not the recipient of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grant, but rather Rochester Works is the grant recipient. And as a result of that stance, the opinion of the state and federal government is that the funding that was sent to Monroe County, about $225,000 a year for our administrative oversight role, should have been procured. Since it is not procured, Rochester Works is no longer paying the county that $225 for its oversight and administration role. This chart is very similar to the pie chart I presented last year. Other than the increase in net county support due to the loss of that Rochester Works reimbursement, the relative funding percentages you see here for planning are pretty consistent from prior years. Grants and just over about half of the net county support fund the Planning Services Division. Our revenue from Imagine Monroe and the IDC support our Economic Development Division. All but about $30,000 of the Community Development Block Grant funds the Community Development Division. And finally, net county support funds our Workforce Development Division. Of course, I will head back to the administration table where you are welcome to answer questions in as great a detail as you so desire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Wrong chair. Are there any questions regarding the 2020 budget? Yes, Legislator Barnhart.
Through the chair to the administration. Just a couple questions about Imagine Monroe. Imagine Monroe has how much cash on hand?
Madam Chair, Imagine Monroe is not actually budgeted in this document. We could probably put our heads together and take a stab at that.
Okay, I can reword my question. The net county support for $183,000, nearly $184,000, does that fund Imagine Monroe activities?
Madam Chair, Imagine Monroe actually reimburses Monroe County. It's significantly more than $180,000. It's, looks like it's $474,000 for the 2020 budget year. And that reimburses the Department of Planning and Development for use of office space over at City Place, staff time and effort, and a variety of supplies and IS charges.
So the $184,000, that does not go to support Imagine Monroe? None of that money does?
Just as a
Madam
reminder.
Chair, can I just clarify, what $184,000 are we describing?
I'm looking at page 264, net county support.
Madam Chair, the net county support presented throughout this document, if you add it all together, that equals the tax levy for the county, and this really supports the Department of Planning and Development. It does not support any component units of the county.
Thank you.
Any further questions regarding the budget? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is new business, or I'm sorry, is the approval of minutes. So the, you have the August 26th, 2019 minutes before you. They stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes before the end of the day. Now we are on to new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 19-0313.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by President Carbone. Are there any questions? Yes, Legislator Boyce.
Yes, Madam Chair, could you, through you to the administration, can you explain why this is a matter of importance, sir?
Through the chair, this is a matter of importance because the current administration was working on some possible adjustments to the program based on what you just learned in the budget about the $225,000 being taken back. But the administration has asked that we extend it for 1 year so that the new administration can decide whether or not it wants to continue with the adjustments that were being explored, rather than tie the new administration into a deal that they may or may not want.
Through the chair, so I guess because this is part of new business, I, instead of referring to it as what we just heard, can we put it on the record to explain what you're referring to as?
Through the chair, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
In the budget report, we learned that New York State and Rochester Works have decided that the money that was paid to Monroe County for the staffing of this program could no longer be paid to Monroe County. And based on that, the department was actually looking at different options for performing some of the work under this contract. But again, we don't want there to be a gap in coverage. So this, what is before you, is a 1-year contract with 4 one-year renewals, should the administration be, the new administration be content with the Rochester Works contract. But if they're not, within 12 months, they could get a new contract or do a new program or anything of that nature.
All right, thank you so much for clarifying.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Are there any other items to come before the committee at this time? Seeing none, the November 25th, 2019 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will be announced.